Yes, parents, it is Thursday. It's hard to imagine. Thursday is already here again, I guess. Time flies when you're having fun. But these weeks just tend to be speeding by at this point, one after another. We've got, coming up very quickly, re-enrollment. Now on the calendar it shows February 14th is the first day for re-enrollment, and tentatively that is still going to hold. There's a chance we might have to push that back by a week or so, depending on a few things that are taking place at the state and some other information that we're waiting on. But for right now, tentatively, re-enrollment will begin on February 14th. Now, obviously, we're talking about for next school year, the 22-23 school year, and the private school system, re-enrollment starts early in the year. For a number of reasons. Obviously, we want to be able to plan for next school year, and particularly, we want to be able to plan our budgets for next school year, and that helps if we start to get numbers in as early as possible. So we start in the late winter, early spring, that re-enrollment process. And so for the first several weeks of re-enrollment, it's only re-enrollment. Only current families can re-enroll for next year, and that's important because it gives you first crack at those spots for various classes. We did have several classes that were very full this year. 3-4 class, the 9-10 class, preschool was very full, kindergarten was pretty full. So we want to make sure that people that are already enrolled at the school have first opportunity to enroll for classes next school year, because once a class reaches its cap, we don't allow any more students in that class. We start a waiting list, and then we see how we can accommodate those students moving forward. But if you want to make sure you have a spot, re-enrollment is the time to get your child re-enrolled for next school year. And then in March, we'll start open enrollment. That means anybody can then apply for positions here at the school. And I have already interviewed a number of parents that wish to enroll their kids next school year. And just the last several days, I've gotten more emails from parents who are looking to enroll their child for next year as well. So looking forward to that. We don't have the tuition prices next year quite yet. The school board is meeting early next week. They're voting on all that, and they will decide all those final numbers. And once we have those, we'll release those to you guys as well, so you'll know all of that information. All right, if you have any specific questions about re-enrollment for next school year, please make sure to contact our office. Makaira is there, and she will be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Speaking of which, I know the transition from Angela to Makaira kind of took place over the course of the school year, and some of you may not have met Makaira yet, but I just want to take a quick moment to let Makaira have a few minutes to kind of introduce herself. If you don't know her, this is Makaira.
Hi FCS family, my name is Miss Makaira for those of you who don't already know me, and I work here in the school office. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call me or shoot me an email. You can find my info on the school website. In addition to those concerns or questions, I handle anything regarding absences or attendance. So if you do have a student out, please feel free to send me an email just so we can get those excused. But I'm so glad to be a part of this amazing community here. Feel free to contact me whenever you need to.
So that's Makaira. One thing I do want to stress is parents, if your child is going to be out and you're sending in an excuse for your child, that needs to go to the office. I know many of you will send those to the teacher, and that's fine. The office just has to be CC'd on that. They have to be copied on that, because the office is the only entity within the school that can excuse a child's absence. A teacher cannot. Only the office. And that's because we want all that information flowing through one location, and that is the office. So please make sure if you're sending an excuse for your child, make sure it goes through the office. All right, one more thing for you today. Parents, I need your help. Please help us get your kids invested in God's Word. We want our kids reading God's Word every day. I'm not talking about just here at school. I'm not talking about just at church. I'm talking about at home. Opening up God's Word and reading God's Word. No matter the age, get them into God's Word. The younger kids, they probably need you as parents to help sit down with them and read God's Word. You should be doing that daily. Older kids, even with them, you should be encouraging them to read it on their own, but even as a family, you can do it with older kids as a family as well. Reading God's Word together is so important. We want kids desperate for God's Word. We just learned not long ago that when the Bible was first being printed, people would give up their life savings and even go into debt just to own one page of the Bible. That's how desperate they were for God's Word. We need to be that desperate for God's Word again. When we're in God's Word, we're more likely to obey God's commandments. When we're in God's Word, temptation is less likely to take a hold in our lives. When we're in God's Word, we're more likely to be in the center of God's will for our life. When we're in God's Word, we're more likely to have a close relationship with Him. It's God's specific revelation to us, and we need to grasp a hold of it dearly, desperately, so that we are closer to God. We can understand better who God is, and we can also understand better the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. So please, again, encourage your kids to get into God's Word every single day. Ask your kids about what they learned in Bible class, and then relate that back to God's Word that you're reading together as a family. Ask your high school kids about the internal and external evidences of the inspiration of God within the Scriptures. They should be able to tell you, we're learning a lot of great stuff here, but they also need to apply it in their own lives, and that's done through individual Bible study. So again, parents, please encourage your kids to read God's Word daily. All right. Hope you guys have an awesome week. Hope you're going to have a great weekend. As always, any questions or concerns, contact us here at the school. We'll be more than happy to answer those for you. Hope you guys have a great weekend. God bless.